And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and I'm trying out a new microphone, so I'm super excited about the microphone. So let me know how the audio sounds. By the way, I want to give a huge shout out to Bochista. Bochista is from Team Instinct. This is his team and his recordings. He gave me exclusive content. This is all his teams. He's showing off Finn right now, showing basic stats. He's going to go through the entire team. This team he's showing is a resistance team, and it has 3 Zeta abilities. Of course, he's got Finn, the leadership ability Zeta, and then he has got Rey's Zeta ability done, the unique that she has. And then, of course, he has Boba Fett, and we're going to see that Boba Fett here in just a second. But again, he's going through mods. He can just show you kind of how he's got them modded. If you look to the right, you'll see how all the stats are with each one, you know, how much damage they're set up to do, all that kind of stuff. So as you're taking a look at that, I just want to shout out again to Bochista. Thank you so much for providing this team so that we can take a look at it and seeing this exclusive footage, because I can't Zeta every single character and get footage for them. And of course, he went Resistance. Now, Resistance is really great right now. There's a lot of meta, and what meta means is it's the characters people are using, basically. And when a lot of people use the same character, it tracks as a character that's really, really popular. And there's these what's called meta reports, which show data or meta that shows who is using what character, and those characters that they are using, the ones that rise to the top are the ones that are cherry-picked kind of for the cream of the crop to showcase who's being used and in what shard. So the meta is, simply put, just a group of individuals or characters within the game that are being highly used by a vast majority of people. So as you're seeing, he's showing off all of his team. You know, he's showing you his Boba Fett now, and then he's going to show you his General Kenobi. I hope you've been paying attention to how he's modded him to the right, which mod sets he's used. And then, of course, his his health protection, all that kind of stuff. You see he's got his General Kenobi about 210 speed. That's pretty good. And then he's got his armor at about almost 35%, which isn't bad at all. He is a tank. And this team, of course, is not viable for the vast majority of people as far as the General Kenobi aspect. That's a tough character to get. But Boba Fett's completely free to play. And the other characters are free to play as well. Rey takes a little bit of time to farm, and Poe and Finn will take a little bit of time to farm, but you can fill this in with any other character. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a galactic war in the background. He went from node 1 to node 12, zipping through it without stop, with an entire with this team not dying once, not a character dying on the entire 12 nodes of Galactic War. So we're going to check that out. And then I have some other footage of him in arena going against the Empire. I have him going against the current meta with Biggs and Chase, Biggs and Wedge, and then Chase, of course, is the Chirrut and Baze combo. So that's pretty exciting. So first, I just want to, again, give a shout out to Bochista for providing this footage. So the first, we're just going to go over some of the abilities and kind of the synergies that these abilities provide. And so first, we'll start off with Finn. So his basic, the crack shot, it really doesn't have any synergy. It's just a basic attack. Then we move to hold the line. It's great because it dispels all debuffs. It's dispelling, and it works with Rey's ability Focus Strikes, which says that as long as she has no debuffs, she gets that plus 25% offense, and then she will inflict daze for 2 turns whenever she uses either of her 2 special abilities, which may not be resisted. And just to remind you, daze is kind of the thing you need for this future meta with all these additional attacks and all this, get life health and stuff. There, she just dazed Captain Phasma. But with daze, they're not gonna gain any turn meter, additional turn meter from any additional turn meter effects. There's no counter striking. There's no assisting. Now, some of these videos you'll notice dazed people counter. That's broken. That they're not supposed to be able to. Those are things that the game makers will eventually address and fix. But it's supposed to prevent the counter striking and assisting. His takedown is obviously going to expose the opponents. Finn's takedown will expose the opponent. And remember, expose does 20% of their max health damage for each expose over their head, which is pretty awesome. For his balanced tactics, resistance allies, and this is basically an almost all resistance team. It's got the front 3 resistance. They're going to gain 30% offense and 60% defense, with half of that effect for other allies. So 15% offense for Boba and for General Kenobi, and then 30% defense for those back 2. But the rest get 30 offense and 60% defense. Whenever a resistance ally loses foresight, they gain advantage. So they're either going to have their foresight or their advantage, and when they lose their foresight, they're going to get advantage. Advantage, simply put, is your guaranteed critical, which is a critical hit, which is awesome. And then whenever an enemy takes damage from expose, which he's obviously doing in his takedown, it's going to reduce all of the resistance cooldowns by 1 and give them 35% turn meter. So it's going to speed them up and reduce their cooldowns. And I mean, I don't know if you know, but Rey hits like a Mack truck when she's swinging. And look at all those exposes. You know, there's 3 characters on the team right now exposed. It's pretty amazing. So let's go to Poe. He's got his basic called Challenging Shot. 40% chance to inflict offense down is doubled if the target's suffering any negative status effects, such as maybe Rey put daze on him or Finn exposed him, right? So it's going to be 40% chance to inflict that offense down, which is excellent. There's also the damage over time Boba Fett's going to apply, possibly a stun that Finn can do, or the ability block that Boba does, etc., etc. There's just so many different negative status effects that you can do. More than likely, you're going to inflict offense down on that target, because it'll be an 80% chance to inflict offense down if they have that negative status effect on them. His resistance, Bravado, is a 2-turn taunt. It's going to remove turn meter. So it's kind of like Stormtrooper Han, but opposite. Instead of giving your whole team turn meter, he's going to remove turn meter from the entire other team. So that's pretty exciting. 25% turn meter removal and a 65% chance to expose the targets. Also buff immunity for 2 turns on the primary target, so that really helps with limited taunt removal, the one thing this team doesn't have. And so if you can put that buff immunity over the Royal Guard or Stormtrooper Han, you're going to prevent them from taunting, so that's really good. Stand Firm for him is plus 22% tenacity and gains 7.5% health per resisted negative status effect. So he's going to naturally have additional tenacity, which means he's going to resist those negative status effects, which is going to give him a natural ability to be a self-healing character. Anytime you can get a character that self-heals, that's awesome. So that's great for Poe. Now it says Finn also gains these bonuses, and whenever Poe loses taunt, Finn gains taunt, so for 1 turn. So the B2 battle droid and Sunfac can suck it, right? Because if Sunfac takes off Finn's taunt, then Poe gets taunt, and if the B2 knocks off the taunt off of Poe, then Finn will get it. I mean, it just goes back and forth. Someone's going to be taunting. This is awesome. I absolutely love that. As far as Rey goes, obviously everybody knows Rey. She was meta some few months back, and I've told a few people that Rey's definitely going to make a comeback. She's definitely has a home in the future meta, and the reason for that is because she has Daze now, and Daze is a really, really, really great ability that's been introduced recently. So her Shifting Strike, of course, she'll have a 40% chance to gain Foresight. It's also 40% chance to gain advantage, essentially, under Finn's leadership, right? Because she's either going to have her advantage, and if she loses her, or foresight, and if she loses her foresight, she gains advantage under Finn's leadership. So she's going to have basically a 40% chance to either gain the foresight or the advantage if she loses foresight. So that's cool. As far as leverage, possible foresight there, so that's great. And then, of course, with possible foresight comes possible advantage under Finn. So that's pretty exciting. The Irresistible Daze, if cleansed, so that's pretty awesome, basically guaranteeing that she's going to be able to apply Daze. On Flurry of Blows, Irresistible Daze, if cleansed, so that's awesome. As long as she doesn't have negative status effects, these are Irresistible Dazes, and that's on both Advantage and Flurry of Blows. And then Focus Strikes, as long as there's no debuffs, there'll be a bonus, and that'll be thanks to Finn. And if you have a debuffer, like in here he has General Kenobi, that's who he's using to clear his debuffs, but you could have a number of characters that are going to cleanse your team to make sure that her Focus Strike gets, that 25% bonus on offense. As far as Boba Fett goes, the EE3 carbine, the dots, the damage over time, doubles the chance for Poe to inflict his offense down. So that's really, really great because obviously you want those negative status effects for Poe to be able to inflict offense down. And as far as death from above, his ability, 2 debuffs to help Poe inflict the offense down. Ability block prevents the enemy squad from cleansing the debuffs for the enemy team. And the enemy team should always be the target because the ability block lasts 2 turns on the primary target, so he can ignore the taunt. So what you want to do is basically whoever the tank is, make them the primary target of the ability block, so that way you have 2 turns to basically go to town and ignore that taunt. As far as Poe's execute, there's really not a ton of synergy per se with the resistance, but it's the team's only taunt remover, really, because when he shoots, he'll take taunt away as well as do his damage. But if you observe enough of these matches, you're going to see that it really does not matter so much. The enemy's tanks are pretty much always the first ones to go down. And then, of course, he's got Bounty Hunter's Resolve. Because this allows Boba Fett to ignore taunts, one thing that he can do is he can use this against target enemies that have exposed despite their tanks taunting and trying to prevent that. So there is some synergy there with Boba Fett, but Rey, it just makes her OP again, really it does. And with that days, it's really preventing all of that counter striking that people are getting used to with the Sunfax and the Chase combos. You want to prevent them, so that the days is great, plus all the extra turn meter people are getting. And then of course the Poe and Finn rework that recently happened is amazing. This is why we're going through this video, by the way, because there's a lot of people that are going to be getting Finn and Poe because they're the daily login characters for this month and next month, and they really want to know, are these guys worth getting. Now, really quick, he has General Kenobi put in here, and I know that a lot of people can't get him yet, but one day you'll get him, and it's good to know what General Kenobi's capable of, so that way you know what you're working towards or what you're having to fight against. As far as General Kenobi being in his lineup, his Intuitive Strike gives a 75% chance to grant a random ally foresight that doesn't have it. Thus, that's going to grant possible advantage to any resistance ally per Finn's leadership. Again, if they have the foresight and they lose it, they'll then gain advantage. It basically de-evolves into advantage, which is the guaranteed critical. As far as the negotiator, he's the cleanser for Rey to keep her debuffed, so that way she doesn't have anything over and she does a lot of damage. And it will remove any of that buff immunity that you get from B2 or the TIE Fighter pilot, as well as any days or any shocks that you might get from the opponent's Emperor Palpatine or anything like that. So you'll definitely want a cleanser if you don't have General Kenobi. You'll want to put someone in here that is going to be able to clear that up, maybe an Admiral Akbar, or what I would suggest is Rex, now that he's farmable. He would be a great substitution on this team. As far as his ability to lead the charge, there's not really any specific synergy to this team. Soriso, it's an auto taunt. So essentially, upon an ally receiving a critical hit, he's going to taunt automatically. This is going to help keep Rey clean and repeatedly grant either Poe or Finn critical hit immunity, and it's going to greatly increase their survival, as well as prevent stuns from Ayla or tenacity down from the TIE Fighter pilots and things like that. All right, so Bochista's modding philosophy, and this is going to be in order of the squad action. So let's start with Poe. So he's got to go first and as often as possible, okay? He's also going to need tenacity for when he doesn't, and in order to self-heal. So he's going to need enough potency to land expose at least once, but preferably 3 times. So you're definitely going to want to make sure that you get, speed sets on him and tenacity set on him, so that way you can give him the tenacity he needs. Look for those secondaries of tenacity and speed, and then also the potency, because he's got to have enough of that potency to land that expose. As far as Boba Fett, he's got to go second, so you're going to have to time your speed, and he's going to use his AoE on both his ability block and to damage all opponents to ensure damage is done via the expose when expose happens. So for Boba Fett, I would do, you could do offense or critical damage, but speed mods would be great as well. If you don't have speed mods, you really can use any mods as long as you're looking for really strong secondaries of, speed, potency, things like that. As far as Rhea goes, she's going to need to survive, right? She's the kind of one of the squishiest characters on this, and the ability to stay free of debuffs. So speed's going to help her gain that foresight, which helps her stay clean, and she's not, that way she doesn't get hit. And then she's going to also be able to gain advantage because of Finn's leadership if she has that foresight, because as soon as she loses her foresight, she gains that advantage. This is where she retains her historical significant damage. So don't put much into increasing her damage, because there's gonna be opponents that are just like that. There's gonna be opponents that have expose already, as well as she's just gonna be able to do her classic damage she used to do. So Finn, you're gonna have to do speed. Basically, you're gonna want him to go fast, but only enough speed so that when Poe initially lands his expose, possibly for Boba Fett to do damage via, he's going to have enough turn meter to take a turn and use his special attack to expose an enemy as well. So you want to make sure that Finn's sped up, but he's not as fast as Poe. Poe's going to have to be the fastest in your team to go. As far as General Kenobi, really, you just want enough speed so that the turn meter reduction from Poe is enough for him to go before another enemy, because Poe's going to go and there's going to be a 25% turn meter reduction on the opposing team, and so really you just want him fast enough that he's going to go first before them, even after that 25% turn meter loss. If your ability block from the AoE of Boba Fett doesn't stick to the enemies, the AoE or the enemy cleanses all the debuffs, grant retribution if you happen to have General Kenobi, because that's just going to allow everybody to be able to attack back. If you don't have General Kenobi, then just disregard. You would just want to make sure you cleanse off your team if needed. But if the ability landed more ideally, which is the hope, that the debuff AoE block, ability block lands, then you're going to want to use General Kenobi's Lead the Charge to both finish the enemy's tank and damage it via the expose that hopefully Finn just inflicted on that tank. This often creates enough turn meter for Poe that he gets his turn again. So if this is true, then damage via expose has occurred enough times that the ability cooldown effect from Finn's leadership has Poe's taunt resets, and he can go again all over again to prevent the enemy squad from having its first turn action by removing another 25% turn meter from them all. So this is just an amazing team where there is a lot of damage being dealt. There is ability block, there is the tank taunting capability, because when Finn has it or loses it, Poe gets it. When Poe loses it, Finn gets it. So it kind of goes back and forth. There's a lot of expose capability. There's turn meter reduction on the other team. So this is just a really, really fun team. Of course, this team has 3 different Zeta abilities maxed out, and so this is kind of a best case scenario for Resistance, but it was just really exciting and really fun for Bochista to share this so we could see kind of the Resistance at its best and what it's capable of after the rework. Since Capital Games is giving us this character for free for this month and next, we want to make sure that if we're going to invest our hard-earned credits and gear into it, that we are doing the right thing. So with that, I want you to check out the rest of this video. I'm going to speed up some of the video so it doesn't take too long, but I wanted you to check out all of this amazing action against all these other crazy awesome teams, from amazing Zeta leadership ability with Darth Vader in the arena to a Rex-led arena team. There's a bunch of arena. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on. Enjoy the video. Make sure that you always share, like, and subscribe to my videos. That's the best support you can give me, is to watch, share these with your guild mates. So I really appreciate you watching. And as always, keep your gaming on. Warrior out.